When we're giving names for variables and constants, it's a really good idea to use something that's meaningful. So let's just have a look at what we mean by that. So if I was to do x equals 10, now that value of x could really mean anything. It would be more sensible to have something more meaningful to us. So in this case, 10 is going to be the number of apples. So we can have a number of apples equals 10. So now we've created a variable that's much more sensibly named, much easier for programmers to understand, and much easier to be able to identify that that 10 represents the number of apples. Now, when we are creating our variables, there's a couple of ways we can do this. So you've noticed here I've used something called Camel Case, where I've started off with a lowercase for my number here, but for each letter, beginning of each letter for each word in that sequence, a number of, so the O for the of is capitalized, and the A for the apples is capitalized. So they're the first letters of each of those words, which means that it's much easier to read being number of apples than if I hadn't capitalized that. Another way is to do it is to use what's called snake case. So we could do number of apples, where we split up each word with an underscore. So that's a fairly straightforward and a good convention for naming your variables as well. When we refer to constants, so constants are values that don't change, and variables are values that do change. So variables we start off with a lowercase letter, and constants we use uppercase. So for example, for pi, we'd set that to be capitalized there and just do 3.14159.265, for example. So that's a constant, that's not going to change, and we know that's a constant because we've capitalized those letters.